So next up, we've got the amazing, the incredible, the very pink Dave Rendall. Dave, are you there?
I am here.
All right. Are you? You're wearing you're kind of black today, though. You're not all pink.
It's not all pink. Yeah, I mean, come on, it's pink on the shirt, pink wristbands, it's brand new pink glasses.
Well, it is
You know
after
you.
Labor Day, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's after Labor Day. Yeah, it's true. um, I mean, all I can think about is like Victoria's Secret. Like Victoria's Secret, when you walk by the pink, it's always like black and pink. So,
They've asked me numerous times to be a model for them, and I have my values, and I can't give into that kind of a thing. So I'm just staying strong, and I keep fighting back, pushing them away.
If I see your picture, well, I want to see a full body Dave Rendall like cut out at the Victoria's Secret with, I could just see, I think you'd be sort of standing like with your hip cocked a little bit, your arm on it, and like just pink undies on. Like I really, and pink, I think you'd be wearing pink Chuck Taylors.
I have those.
Same shirt you got on, right? No,
I have those. Yeah, I actually hate their pink line because they use the word pink on stuff that isn't pink. And so I find that problematic. You can't be wearing a green shirt that says pink. You can't have a brown shirt that says pink. If it's not pink, it's not pink. So I also have a beef with them on that. We're fighting that out in the courts.
I hear you. Take it to social media. That's where you'll get your traction. So, all right. So everybody's like, what the heck, right? So he's a really interesting cat because Dave is a tremendous speaker, author, and he's actually the guy. A lot of people watching this don't know this, but every year we have our Better Your Best finalists, and they stand on our stage and they tell their story, and the audience votes, and we pick a winner for the Better Your Best, the spokesperson position for my organization. And what we started doing is having Dave actually coach them. And two things. One is he is tremendous at coaching people on how to communicate thoughts, ideas from stage presentation. And when I say from stage, that could be a video, that could be a webinar, that could be an actual physical from stage. In the past, he was a leadership professor and a stand-up comedian, and he somehow made this all work with this concept of the freak factor. And we earlier this year we had Dave come in and coach a number of our members on public speaking, and we got so many people coming back to me, writing me notes saying that was the most tremendous experience and learning experience that I've had in a long, long time. So Dave is, I mean, how would you describe what you do, Dave? Because you have so many, I think, facets to who you are. I mean, I guess technically you're a professional speaker. I mean, how would you classify yourself?
Well, I think if you put it all together, I mean, my general goal is just to help people succeed, right? So I'm trying to help them either be better in their personal life or their professional life, better at speaking, or better in their own business or in their own career. So I think that's kind of the, whether it's coaching or doing the presentations itself, or doing some consulting or writing books, or I just designed an assessment. My goal is to help people get better, help other people get better, and primarily, to see they already are better than they think they are. Like you said earlier, I have this idea that weaknesses might also be strengths, the freak factor, that the things that we think are wrong with us or wrong with other people might actually be ours or their best qualities. And so part of my goal is to help people see that they're better than they already are. Even with public speaking, I try to teach people, you're already talking almost all day, every day. You just think of public speaking as a completely different activity instead of thinking of it as just one more part of how you already communicate. And if you saw yourself as having 30, 40, 50 years of communication experience, and you tried to speak more normally, comfortably, naturally while you were on stage, you'd be more effective by realizing you're already better than you think you are, instead of thinking, well, I don't do that for a living. So I think that's maybe my one main message, that you're better than you think you are. And if you want to keep getting better, build on that, what you already have, instead of trying to be someone completely different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, real quick, I love this concept of the freak factor, because I think more of us are freaks more than we're normal. I don't even know what normal is, but just so the audience can, people watching this, explain what the freak factor is, how you came about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really simple. And I didn't sort of like make it up or do some kind of marketing study. It just happened to me. You know, I was always in trouble my whole life, especially in school, because I couldn't sit still, be quiet, and do what I was told. And then as an adult, I stumbled into public speaking where I get paid to stand up, not to sit down. I get paid to talk, not to be quiet. I get paid to run my own business, not to do what other people tell me to do. And so I discovered which I didn't know. You know, when everybody told me I was going to be a failure growing up, I figured they must know. They're the adults, they're the teachers, they're the employers, they're my parents. They must know. And so when I started having this success, I was like, wait a second. It seems like those weaknesses that I had, the worst things about me, my biggest weaknesses actually were my biggest strengths. I didn't turn them into strengths. They just were. And I didn't realize that. And once I tapped into that and started finding situations that rewarded me for who I was, instead of trying to turn me into someone else, I started having success. And so that's what I teach people, that your biggest weaknesses are also strengths, and that the things that you're trying to fix about yourself and other people are oftentimes your best qualities. So for example, you know, it's New Year's resolution time. So someone's like, oh, everybody tells me I'm too stubborn. My boss tells me I'm too stubborn. My spouse tells me I'm too stubborn. My kids tell me I'm too stubborn. I'm too stubborn. But also, if you ask that person about their biggest strengths, they'd probably start talking to you about some things that sound a lot like persistence, you know, and they're not realizing that strength of persistence is that weakness of stubbornness. And both words mean to stick with things longer than most people think is reasonable. And the only thing that makes someone persistent instead of stubborn is success. Once we're successful, people go, oh, good job, you were persistent. When we're still not there yet, people are like, you're stubborn, you need to give it up and move on to something else. And so you can't in 2022 get more persistent and be less stubborn at the same time, because it's the same quality, it's the same characteristic, and you're going to succeed because you stick with things longer than most people think is reasonable. So build on your persistence instead of trying to fix your stubbornness. So that's the freak factor, is just recognizing that every characteristic has a dual nature. It has two sides of the same coin. And once we recognize that, it changes the way we try to get better.
Yeah, I love that, because I think fix ourselves, and you know what you're saying is, just instead of trying to fix ourselves, it's like, how do we extract the good from it, maybe while kind of controlling the downside a little bit, mitigating it, or however. But if we can find a place where we can use that effectively, it's extremely powerful. So like we're moving, and I think that we're moving into 2022, and I'm thinking, you know, everybody's thinking about resolutions, you know, like, how do I get better? So how would you give somebody the process to start realizing, how can I embrace my quote unquote freak factor and use it? I mean, like, do you have a process for that? Can you explain that to them?
Yeah, great. Well, you hit on it earlier too. You just said you mitigate the downside by finding a place that rewards you for that quality, right? So that really is the way. People say, no, I overuse that characteristic. No, I have too much of that. No, I need to tone it down, moderate it, reduce it. No, you don't. What you need to do is find the situation that rewards you for that characteristic, instead of continually putting yourself in situations that punish you for that characteristic. So the first part is to do that assessment, know your strengths and weaknesses, and start looking at what's the upside. And the second part is really, you know, there's more to it than that, but the second key part is really what you said. In 2022, how can I find situations that put a spotlight on the best things about me and take the spotlight off the worst things about me? Nobody ever, after one of my speeches, goes, oh man, Dave couldn't sit still and be quiet and do what he was told. Because that's not the job, right? That's not the responsibility. Of course I stood up. Of course I talked. Of course I was on my own and making up my own things that I was going to say and not taking instruction from somewhere else. So in the right situation, your weaknesses become strengths, not by you changing yourself or becoming someone else or self-discipline or fighting. So I think that's the goal for 2022. How do I identify the situations that already put a spotlight on my strengths? And how do I identify other situations that I'm not in yet that would put a spotlight on my strengths? And how do I move myself into those situations more often? And how do I move myself out of situations that put the spotlight on my weaknesses. And one of the best ways to see that is, what gives you energy, right? What gives you energy? And when does time seem to disappear? That's how you know you're in your sweet spot. And what drains your energy? And time just seems to drag on and on and on, and start keeping a checklist of those things and try to move away from the one and into the other, knowing that, again, the goal isn't to be perfect. It's to find situations that match who you are. And that's when we find success, not when we change who we are, but when we fit who we are to where we are.
Right. Right. It's not something I just wrote down is, I think there's things in people's background or things that they do or characteristics about themselves that they're embarrassed about, that they don't like. For years, it's funny, like for years, I was embarrassed. My name was Robin Robbins, right? Until I got into a sales job. And then it was all of a sudden, it was an asset because everybody would remember my name. It made me unique, right?
Yeah.
There was a time in my life where I was embarrassed that I didn't finish high school and I had a GED. And now that, like you said, it's the difference is success. Once you're successful, you flip everybody the bird and you go, screw you, right? But
it's actually part of the story, right? Like, it's more impressive. Look at what I've done and I didn't finish high school. That's a better story than look at what I did after I went to a great school and got a master's degree from Harvard and had rich parents. It's a better story, but like you said, afterwards, right? It's not at the time.
Right. But even in business. So one of the things I'll hear, for example, from a lot of small MSPs, they'll say, well, I'm small. I can't compete with the big guys. I don't have all the staff. I don't have all the resources. And I'm like, but use that to your advantage. The fact that you're small, you could go into a customer and you're like, you're going to be my biggest customer. I'm going to wake up in the morning and for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm going to think about you. I'm going to support you. You are the sun rises and sets on you as my biggest customer. Not this other company you're talking about. You're a blip. You're a small customer to them. They're not going to work anywhere near as hard as I'm going to work. So I think, I want to kind of translate this more than just personal. I mean, in business, in your life, I think this really can make a difference.
You're 100% right. I mean, that's the new book we wrote is called Pink Goldfish, and it's about the marketing and strategy aspects of that. And you really hit on it. I was working with some digital agency folks, and they went around the room and they said, talk about how you describe your size to prospective customers. And what I watched every person do is try to talk like they were bigger than they were. And when I got up there, I was like, you need to stop that. You need to tell them, this is my cell phone number. You're never going to get a junior associate. You're always going to get the person with 30 years of experience. You're never going to get a call center. You're going to be 40% of our business. We're going to be focused on you. We can be flexible. We can be responsible. We're small, and that allows us, there's strengths to being small. And just like you were doing, that big is good. But there's downsides to that. They're going to be slower. They're going to be less flexible. They're going to be less customized. They're going to be less personalized. They can't do for you what we can do. We're not going to apologize. And that's something that I really want to focus on that you just said a minute ago. Oftentimes we're ashamed of these things. The subtitle of the Freak Factor is Discovering Uniqueness by Flaunting Weakness. And flaunting means to parade without shame, to be unapologetic. And that's what you're really talking about. Robin Robbins is my name, and I'm proud of that. I have red hair and I'm proud of that. I didn't finish high school and I'm proud of that. I'm a small business and I'm proud of that. I'm working at home. I'm in my basement. You're going to have my number. You're going to get my email every single time. I'm going to be providing the service directly. There's no one else. That's not something to be ashamed of. That can be a huge asset with the right customer. And that's alignment again. But it all does start. If you got your head down and you're ashamed and you don't believe in your business, or you believe that you're not good enough because you're not like the other ones, that's a missed opportunity. And so that's exactly right. They need to do what you talked about doing. How do I frame those weaknesses as strengths, see them as differentiation, and take advantage of them instead of letting them beat me?
Exactly right, man. I love it. I love it 100%. And you have a book for kids too, don't you?
Yeah, the Freak Factor for kids. Because so many people, I mean, I'm talking to business owners, I'm talking to entrepreneurs, but they're like, hey, I got a kid with ADHD. I got a kid with dyslexia. I got a kid with autism. I got a kid that's being bullied. And
they
so
got
exactly
red
right.
hair. They
Yeah,
got
that's
freckles.
no, that's
They're
right. They're being bullied
skinny.
because they're too short, they're too
Oh,
tall, they're too
all of
skinny,
it.
they're too fat, whatever it happens to be. And so, again, if you're not ashamed of it, no one can use it against you. So, the main message of that is that the weirdest kids make the best adults, right? And that's a
Exactly.
message that's really empowering to younger people. But it's also, where do they get some of that pressure to conform? It's sometimes coming from the adults. Sometimes the parents need to be the one that give their kid permission to be weird. It's the parents who are ashamed and worried what other people think about their own kid.
Yeah. I think that's a really key message right there. If people we're up against time, but if people wanted to learn more about that book and you, where do they go?
Yeah, it's just drendall.com. So DRENDALL.com. So DRENDALL.com. The book is a free video right on there. The kids' book is. There's videos of my presentations. There's links to all the books and all the resources, the assessments and things like that at drendall.com.
Yeah, I mean, I think all your stuff is phenomenal, and we're going to continue to work with you, of course, coaching our clients on speaking. But definitely get the copy of the book, if not for yourself, for your kids. Because I think we live in this world where everyone wants to conform, and I think it's a really important message. So, Dave, cheers. What are you drinking, by the way? You have?
Hitting it hard with the water. Got some water in my pink T-Rex cup here, so hitting it hard.
Well, cheers. All right.
I'm like Jack, we're hardcore athletes. We got to stay hydrated, but he's got the wine. He knows how to he gives so much blood. He's got to keep those red blood cells up with that red wine. He's got to keep the body. His blood is 40% red wine. And that's one of the reasons it's so valuable at the Red Cross. It helps get people the antioxidants that they need. And it really just heals their bodies from the inside out. It's a thing. It's a secret a lot of people don't know about, Jack.
I know they see the audience. I don't know if they can see Jackson in the waiting room.
They don't know. He's coming
he's
next,
smiling
though. He's coming
now.
soon.
He did not look happy.
Oh, he's got it. No, he tracks his wine days. I'm not making this up. He tracks how many days he has a solid bottle of wine. Jack's for real. He knows how to balance his life. He works hard and he plays hard. Yeah.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Well, very cool. Well, cheers to you and your water. We still like you anyway.
Well, it's like Jim Gaffigan says, when you don't drink, people are like, hey, why don't you drink? But if you don't eat mayonnaise, nobody goes, is that because you've got a problem with mayonnaise? Like people have a harder time, when you don't drink. But no, it's not a big deal. It's just not one of my favorite. I got other problems. I eat lots of sweets. That's my drinking. So.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we'll get you screwed up sometime. Maybe we'll come in and we'll just get you like totally fucked up. You know what I mean?
That'll be goal for boot camp in April. We'll just go out and just get blasted, and you can get me an Uber on the way home.
I will get you like martinis that are like pink martinis, and we'll get you so sauced, and that will be funny. All right. I mean, like that. I'm selling tickets to that.
You guys took care of me last time I was there. We went out with Mike. We had pink sushi, 2 different kinds of pink sushi. So I'm pink on the inside and the outside.
Very cool. All right, Dave. Cheers.